everyone. This is the October 24th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Chatham's Zoning Board of Appeals. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023, extending certain COVID measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until March 31, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who'd like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 942-446-113#, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with the town policy, the public can speak to any issue or hearing or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. And there's a 5-minute limit on those type of comments. The procedural steps are as follows. We call a roll of all members, which we'll do now to authorize this form of a meeting. Start at this end with Dave Veach.
Yes, Dave Veach, I approve of this form of meeting.
Ed Acton, yes.
Dave Nixon, I approve.
Paul C. Semple, I approve.
Lee Hovey, I approve.
Steve DeBoer, I approve.
Virginia Fenwick, I approve.
And Randy Potash, I approve as well. We ask that any citizens or non-board members participating via the phone, you give us their last 4 digits of their phone number and their name for identification purposes. The hearing notices will be read by staff, Sarah Clark on my right. You or your representative will present your appeal or application. Anyone in favor of the application will have a chance to respond. Then I will read and summarize all the letters that we've received. I'll ask if there's anybody against the application or has a specific question. Next, the applicant can have a chance to rebut anything that they've heard. Members will ask questions to anyone present if they'd like to. We'll hear further information, close the hearing, deliberate, and usually we vote. We'll take all votes by roll call, and at the end of the meeting, we'll close via a verbal confirmation and note the time of adjournment. So at this point, Paul, we have some minutes for September 26, 2024.
Yes, I'll move to approve the minutes of September 26, 2024 as published.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul?
All votes yes?
I vote yes.
As do I. Okay, so our first 2 applications are going to be requests to withdraw, starting with 1369 Main Street, application 24-081.
Application number 24-081, 3-story on Main Realty Trust, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 1369 Main Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 10E, Block 14, Lot D2. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the demolition of the existing dwelling and the construction of a new dwelling. The proposed dwelling will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, such substantial alteration requires the grant of a special permit. The existing building coverage is 1,366 square feet, 11%, and the proposed building coverage is 1,332 square feet, 10.8%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 12,370 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw. This was continued from August 15th, 2024.
And we received a letter on September 13th, 2024. This is a formal request for the withdrawal of the application for the property on 1369 Main Street without prejudice. Please let me know if you require anything further. And this was from Attorney William Riley, and we do not see him here, but, Paul, can I have a motion?
Yes, I'll move to grant the requested, the withdrawal without prejudice.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I, so that's unanimous. Next, we have 32 Crosswind Farm, another motion to withdraw by Hannah Edward and Joseph Girolamo.
I'll move to grant the requested,
We need to.
oh, go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good try.
Application number 24-105, Hannah Ewart and Joseph Girolamo, 32 Crosswind Farm Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owners of property located at 0 Crosswind Farm Road, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 10J, Block 17A, Lot LP 36. The applicant seeks to construct a driveway under Section 4A3D of the Protective Bylaw. The lot contains 20,815 square feet in the R60 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Chatham Protective Bylaw.
I'll move to grant the requested withdrawal without prejudice.
Okay, I'm just gonna read the request, and that came in from Joseph Girolamo. Oh, sorry. That, the request came in writing from Joseph Girolamo. Dear board members, I am scheduled for 2020, 10/24/24 ZBA meeting to request a variance for a proposed driveway within the conservation district for the home we are planning to build at 0 Crosswind Farm. After attending the planning board meeting on 9/23/24, I consulted with my engineer at BSC, and we made the decision to reposition the driveway. Since the proposed driveway has been relocated outside of the Coastal Conservancy District, I would like to respectfully request that the board allow a withdrawal without prejudice, as the relief originally requested is no longer required. And that was received on October 10th, 2024. And at this point, I see somebody rising. Is that for this, or no? No, okay.
I'll move to grant the requested relief, withdrawal without prejudice.
And Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I, it's unanimous. Next application is going to be 276 Stage Harbor Road, when Sarah's ready.
Application number 24-107, Daniel and Suzanne Linehan, care of Paul Muldoon, 693 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owners of property located at 276 Stage Harbor Road, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14C, Block 54A, Lot 8A. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a nonconforming dwelling and a nonconforming lot via the construction of additions, a pergola, and the reconstruction of a deck, all within the northerly abutter setback. The existing dwelling is nonconforming and that is located 19.8 feet from the northerly abutter and 23.1 feet from the southerly abutter. The proposed addition will be nonconforming in that it will be located 20.6 feet from the northerly abutter. The proposed pergola will be nonconforming, located 20.2 feet from the northerly abutter, and the reconstructed deck will be nonconforming, located 19.8 feet from the northerly abutter, where a 25-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 2,035 square feet, 6.6%, and the proposed building coverage is 2,156 square feet, 7%, where 10% is the maximum allowed. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 30,691 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw.
Okay, welcome. Mr. Paul Muldoon, I presume?
Yes, Paul Muldoon, SV Design, here representing Daniel and Suzanne Linehan in their project at 276 Stage Harbor. We're requesting a special permit approval for modest changes to their existing home. The lot is a panhandle lot and very well vegetated and private on all sides. There's mature vegetation on both the north and the south, along with some fence lines surrounding the property. As Sarah mentioned, we have less than required lot area, and we have existing non-conforming dimensions on the northern and southern abutters lines. The proposed project includes rebuilding an existing deck to create an entrance off the side. This includes a pergola and a small covered porch, and the covered porch is approximately 93 square feet, 7 feet by about 13 feet. The new abutters dimension to the proposed pergola is 20.2, where we currently have 19.8. Other additions to the structure, we're doing a covered entry at the front entrance with some brackets. And we're adding some habitable space in dormers on the southern side and expanding a few of the dormers on both the north and southern side. So here in the front elevation, east-facing elevation, you can see our new covered entry with brackets and the side view of our screen porch sitting over the existing deck area. The southern elevation, you can see here, we're adding a dormer, a single window dormer to the existing dormer to create head height for an existing stair that's directly underneath there. And then creating a new dormer over a bedroom space with the awning windows, all to allow some solar panels to be placed appropriately. The driveway side here is maybe where the most work is happening. To the left of the proposed, you're seeing the screen porch and pergola stretch across the main gable face. And then in the upper section, in the center portion of the building, we're expanding the dormer to the right to create space for a new bathroom, and then converting the garage space into habitable space under. The west elevation, Sarah, if you could switch to the west elevations, not much to see there. Essentially, some changing windows. You're seeing the deck and covered porch, or screen porch area, and a rinse station. The materials used here will match the existing home: cedar sidewall shingles, red cedar roof line, painted trim, divided light windows. Here these materials are seen throughout Chatham and throughout the neighborhood. And with that, I'm happy to go right into the criteria.
Please do.
Adequacy of the site in terms of the proposed use. The existing non-conforming lot has less than required lot area. The zoning bylaw allows up to 10% of building coverage. We'll be increasing our coverage to 7%, up from 6.6%. The suitability of the site for the proposed use. There is no change in the proposed use. It is a residential home, a single-family residential home, in a residential area. The impact on traffic flow and safety, there will be no impact on traffic flow and safety as the driveway is remaining exactly where it is. Impact on neighborhood visual character, including views and vistas. The lot is landlocked, surrounded by mature vegetation and fencing. There's no change in the vistas or visual impact. Adequacy of sewage disposal, source of water and drainage. There's no additional sewage flow proposed, and roof drainage will be contained on site. Adequacy of utilities and other public services. There's no upgrade to the electrical service proposed, and no additional water flow to be created as well. Noise and litter. No additional noise or litter will be created from this modest addition. Compatibility of the proposed use with the surrounding land uses. There's no change in the current use. Again, residential area, residential home. No impact on natural environments, including slopes, vegetation, wetland, groundwaters, and water bodies. And the visual impact of the neighborhood, I think we've established that it'll be very consistent with the current form.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I will read the one correspondence that we have from our health agent, Judith Giorgio, received on 10/22/24. I have reviewed the plan to renovate and add additions to this property. The property is connected to municipal sewer and is approved for 4 bedrooms. No additional flow is proposed. I have no concerns about this proposal. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question? Nobody in the audience and nobody on Microsoft Teams that we can see? Questions from the board? Ginny?
I have no questions.
Steve?
The only question I was going to ask, because there wasn't really a lot of description about the dormers or the addition to the house, but you sort of explained that. So, because there wasn't much information in the narrative, but I appreciate that. Thank
Sure
you.
thing.
Okay, Lee?
No questions.
Paul?
No questions.
David Nixon?
No questions.
Ed?
No questions.
And David?
No questions.
No questions, and I have no questions either. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, deliberations, we'll do the same thing. Ginny?
I think it's a great project. It meets all of our criteria, certainly not substantially more detrimental.
And Steve?
I think it's also a nice project. It's not detrimental to the neighborhood, and it adds a little bit of desired living space, so it's a good project.
And Lee?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. Nothing further to add.
Well,
Yeah, it's an unusual lot in the sense that it's pretty isolated on Stage Harbor Road, which you would not expect. You have to go in there and go in quite a ways before you find it, and it's isolated from neighbors by plantings, so I don't think those will have any detrimental effect on the neighborhood. I will vote in favor of it.
and David Nixon, no, actually, yeah, would you be next? You could be next.
Thank you. Yeah, this, as I mentioned to a couple of people, in my years of living in town, I didn't know this home existed. I mean, I've driven by oh, there's a driveway, where's it go? So I was very pleased to get in there and see how secluded it is. As far as our criteria, it qualifies on all counts.
And Ed?
It meets all our criteria, very modest, appropriate expansion.
And Dave Veach?
Yeah, I agree with previous, and I actually thought it was going to be a little further up the road, a similar kind of situation. And I got past that, and I went, well, no, we're not there yet. So I had no idea this was there. And looking at the map, there's some really pretty interesting ways the property is divided in that area. So, but no, I agree with all previous. Thanks.
And so that house is a quintessential, by definition, Cape Cod house with a chimney in the middle. I've learned that from certain experts on this board, and I always like to see those. They're very cool. And, all right, Paul, any conditions?
I'm not sure that I see a need for conditions here, given the extent of the work, so I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
That's unanimous. Congratulations, I vote yes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your presentation. And we're moving right along to 16 Surrey Lane, application 24-108, James and Mary Sullivan. They're looking to modify a previous special permit whenever Sarah is ready.
Application number 24-108, James and Mary Sullivan, 16 Surrey Lane, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owners of property located at 16 Surrey Lane, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14F, Block 43, Lot ME7A. The applicant seeks to modify special permit number 24-10, granted on March 14, 2024, which allowed for the construction of additions and the conversion of a garage to habitable space. The applicant now seeks to modify this special permit to allow for the demolition of the nonconforming garage and reconstruction and conversion into habitable space. The existing structure and reconstructed portion of the structure will remain nonconforming at 8.4 feet from the westerly abutter where a 15-foot setback is required. The approved building coverage will remain 2,273 square feet, 14.5%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 5,656 square feet, where 20,000 square feet is required in an R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw.
James Sullivan, I presume.
You presume correctly. Hi, I'm Jim Sullivan. My wife Mary and I live at 16 Surrey Lane. We were here earlier this year, and we received a special permit for the proposed addition or a proposed addition to our home. During the pre-construction planning, we discovered that the foundation on the garage that was approved to be converted into habitable living space is not quite deep enough to make it acceptable. So we are seeking to amend that permit to demolish the garage so we can dig a deeper foundation and rebuild the garage on the new foundation. As I said, the permit or the special permit was granted, and so this application is to amend the permit just for the demolition of the garage and the rebuilding of it. So I would like to go through the factors if.
Yeah, if you want, you could just tell us what's the difference between.
The difference is, right now, the garage is a salt box roof. So what we want to do is extend the roof up to make it symmetrical. So it's going to be the same footprint. It's just going to have a symmetrical center peak roof line. That's the only difference.
That's the only difference.
Yes.
If the board agrees, then we'll leave it at that. Okay, very good, very good. So thank you for your presentation. You outdid yourself from last time, if that's possible.
I was going to do it again.
No, you did it. Well, I remember that. So at this point, we're going to ask if anybody's here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application. If so, please indicate. Seeing none, I will read the two correspondences that we have received. One is from Judith Giorgio, a health agent, on October 22, 2024. She tells us she has no issues with the change to the special permit. The septic tank has been relocated to accommodate the location of the new foundation. Then we have one note from Robin and Daniel DiCarlo, 74 Eldridge Square. As neighbors and parties of interest, we're in full support of James and Mary Sullivan's permit modification for 16 Surrey Lane. That was received on October 21, 2024. At this point, we will ask if there's anybody here on Microsoft Teams that has a question or wishes to speak against this application. Seeing none, questions from the board? Are there any? Are there any? No? Okay, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
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 And yes, so deliberations. Ginny?
Well, I was actually looking forward to your presentation because I too remember it from last time in March. No, I think it's a nice project. I actually like the fact you're going a little higher on the garage side because, it just creates even a little more balance.
It'll balance it,
Yeah. So it meets all of our criteria and I would support it.
Oh, very good. Steve?
I think it's a nice project. I'm kind of a symmetry guy myself, so I'm glad to see her making it a little more
Symmetrical.
symmetrical.
Good. And Lee, this is in your neck of the woods.
Madam Chair, I am in a butter, so I'm going to sit here quietly.
All right. And Paul?
Yes, I agree that it's certainly not more substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. I think it balances the house nicely.
Okay. And Dave Nixon?
I'm in agreement.
And Ed Acton?
I'm in agreement. It's going to give you a little bit of headspace up there, make it a little bit more livable as well. So I think it's a nice change.
And David Veach?
Yeah, I agree with all previous. I'm not surprised that they encountered a 2-foot deep footing on the garage there. I remember those days. But no, I'm in support.
All right. Paul, any conditions?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted with the same conditions that we imposed on the original application, which was all construction activity and vehicles to be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner, that between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed, no work shall be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Very good. Dave Veach?
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And I do as well. It's unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have a similar situation on 208 Cedar Street, an application to modify, and that is the Fitz Family Trust 24-110. Okay.
Application number 24-110, Fitz Family Trust, care of Cindy Fitz, 915 Enchanted Oaks Drive, Driftwood, Texas, 78619. Owners of property located at 208 Cedar Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13C, Block 16, Lot 1. The applicant seeks to modify special permit number 22-111, granted on December 15th, 2022, which allowed for the installation of a new foundation and the construction of additions. The applicant now seeks to modify this special permit to allow for the expansion of a deck and stairway. The existing dwelling is non-conforming and that it is located 11.2 feet from the westerly abutter. The proposed deck will be non-conforming and that it will be located 12.8 feet from the westerly abutter, where a 25-foot setback is required. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 16,320 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protective bylaw.
Ms. Cindy Fitz?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Thank you. So when I was here last month, almost seeking a variance, it was because the original plans, when they excavated, the original plans included a 4-foot tall concrete courtyard that came out of the basement. And then there would have been 3 or 4 steps coming out of that, and they were going to put the AC units kind of smack dab up against those concrete walls, and it wasn't going to be ideal for airflow and everything. Then I had a meeting with Blue Flax Design in between submitting that request for a variance. And after they had done all the excavation to take the cesspools out, the old cesspools out, it basically took us at walkout level for the basement, with a little bit of a knoll still left on the westerly line. And when I met with Teresa from Blue Flax, she said, we can shave that line down and just naturally hold back the land there without having to put this huge courtyard in, which made moving the air conditioning units unnecessary. So as we are now looking at our beautiful house, we too like symmetry, so we thought that it would be ideal to be able to extend the deck across, but not come all the way out as far as the original proposed deck came out, and to allow stairs to return back to the rinsing station on the west side of the house. So that when the future grandchildren come, we don't have them running in front of our house, which is very close to the street, or underneath, and because there's coyotes there. So we added 17 feet in length, 8 feet out, with a return for the stairs. Or we propose to.
Right, okay. Do you have a copy of the criteria? You want me to help you go through it?
You can help me go through
All
it.
right, so this is a special permit, so there's probably 10 that apply. So do you think the site is adequate for the project?
Yes,
Yes. And it's compatible with structures in the neighborhood?
yes.
Yeah, okay. What about the extent of the proposed increase in the non-conforming nature of the structure?
It's still staying within what the original house was, which was the 11.8 feet, I think, or the 11.2. So we're not increasing that. And the lot is angled one way, the house is angled the opposite way, so, you know,
So it's not an issue?
yeah.
And you think the site is suitable in terms of the impact on the neighborhood and the natural environment, including slopes, vegetation, wetlands, groundwater, water bodies, and stormwater runoff?
Yes, yes, it's right on an entire area of the Gardner's property, which is all within that 50-foot range of that ditch, which it's all woods, so.
How about the impact of visual character on the scale sighting in mass on the neighborhood? How do you think it's going to look?
I think it's gonna look good to me, but I don't think anybody's gonna see it from,
Right,
from the
So
neighborhood.
it might have no visual impact,
It'll have no visual impact,
yeah. And it's compatible with the neighboring uses?
yes.
Yeah. What about your sewage disposal or water drainage?
Um,
Any changes?
no changes for that.
And How about impact on traffic flow and safety, noise and litter?
I mean, it will just, it'll improve the traffic flow of the people who will be on the property.
And you have adequate utilities and public
Yes,
services
yes.
for all of this?
Yes.
All right, very good. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Please let us know. Seeing none. I will read the correspondence. Let's see, we have 3. First one is from the Conservation Commission, received on October 2nd, 2024. They tell us that the project was issued in order of conditions for February 23rd, on February 23rd, 2023. A plan change on October 1, 2024 for the removal of the sunken patio and retaining walls at the northeast corner of the dwelling from the project. The project revised meets the performance standards under all the applicable rules. Next, we have a note from Christina Bassett from the Chatham Historical Commission, and she writes to us on October 1st, 2024, that it looks like there's no loss of historic materials, therefore an application is not required. Next, we have a note from our health agent who has no concerns regarding the proposed amendment to the special permit received on October 22, 2024. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a question? Seeing none. Questions from the board? I'll give it
I have
a
no
round.
questions.
All right.
No questions.
No questions.
Well,
No questions.
No questions.
No questions?
No questions.
and no questions here. Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
All vote yes.
Yes.
And yes. So, deliberations. Dave Veach.
Well, this is one of those where if it had been presented this way as part of the initial application, I would have been fine with it, and I don't see that it's in any way substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. It meets our criteria. It makes some sense from their perspective, and so I'll support it.
All right, Ed?
Yeah, if I was voting today, I would support it. I actually applaud you for your efforts to maintain this building and bring it up to code. When I walked through it, and there's not much left of the old structure.
No, not too much.
It certainly still looks very historic and
We did
appropriate.
we kept it looking the same, yeah.
Yes.
Dave Nixon?
Yeah, I'm very pleased that you found a way to do this through special permit as opposed to a variance. That would have been very difficult, so I have no reason not to support it.
Thank you.
And Paul?
I agree with my colleagues.
And Lee?
I agree with my colleagues as well. The deck expansion is definitely not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
And Steve?
I think it's a nice project, makes a lot of sense to be able to exit the rear of the house and get onto the side yard. And it doesn't protrude past the existing side of the house, so you really can't see it from the road. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good project. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I agree with my colleagues, especially appreciate your approach to restoring the 1860 historic home. Important neighborhood. I agree with the comment you made, and that it's a beautiful home. And that you have the most beautiful tree in the back. So
Yes.
expanding that deck makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
And you have, this amazing tree and now an even better view of that, so.
It's the very reason why my husband is choosing to move into this house, is
Was
that
because
tree.
of the tree?
It's the tree.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be able to sit out on the
It's
deck and just be in the tree.
spectacular. Yeah, it's just beautiful. So anyway, it meets all of our criteria, and I would support it.
Thank you.
I think we should impose the same conditions that we had on the original application, which would be all construction activity and vehicles would be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner. That between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed. No work shall be permitted on weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
All vote yes.
I vote yes.
As do I, it's As do I, it's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Yep. Yeah, sure.
And last but not least time-consuming, anyway, we have 1610 Main Street. William Riley represents Oyster River Boatyard. Whenever Sarah's ready.
Application number 24-109, BK Enterprises, Inc., DBA Oyster River Boatyard, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Lessee of property located at 1610 Main Street, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 9E, Block 2, Lot 1, and Map 9E, Block 2, Lot 2. The applicant proposes to establish and operate a marina/boatyard. The property contains 58,390 square feet in an SB zoning district. A special permit is required under Section 3C3C and Section 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Mr. Riley, Attorney Riley, welcome.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley on behalf of BK Enterprises. This is the Berner family. This is Cliff Berner standing next to me. His father, Dick Berner, is in the back. So this is a situation where the applicant is looking to improve the year-round viability and economic success of their business. And they needed additional storage space in the winter to place customers' boats. The applicants operate a full-service marina and boatyard down on the Oyster River. They've been there for many years. Cliff has been there for 22. He's the young buck. And so what I understand is that for a boatyard to be an economic success, in addition to having a waterfront ability to pump gas and service boats at the water during the summer season, there are many customers of theirs that want to leave their boats locally so they can be serviced here. And it's so during the boating season, you know, the boatyard is busy taking care of the boats that are on the water. And if, I don't know who's got a boat here, but I can tell you that generates plenty of its own work. Having, you know, an electronic and mechanical device in a saltwater environment, there are always issues that come up. But of course, the boating season here in Chatham is short, end of May to end of October, basically. And so the way the boatyards keep their customers and keep them happy and support themselves and their year-round staff is to have boat storage so that the customers' boats can be kept locally, brought back to the boatyard during the winter season for work, sophisticated work. It also provides work for their staff, you know, putting the boats up for the winter, in the fall, and then in the spring, where they shrink rack them in the fall. You know, they clean them up. They in the spring they paint the bottom. They buff up the boats and take the shrink wrap off. Some of the boats will be for sale, and so it's convenient for have the boats there, so the boatyard staff can go up and assist potential buyers. So the building commissioner's letter, which you'll see later on, implies that storage is just ancillary to a boatyard, but it's really an essential component of the boatyard. If they can't store the boats, they don't get to work on the boats. If they don't get to work on the boats, they don't make the money they need to sustain their business and their employment base. So I'd like to introduce Cliff Berner to run through an explanation how he sees the boat operation and the necessity for having a place to put boats close by. Cliff?
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Cliff Berner, I'm the operational manager of Oyster River Boatyard. Been doing this full-time now for the past 22 years. Pleased to report that with good service and the popularity of boating in Chatham, we've grown and we need more space in which to operate. We currently handle over 250 boats each season on under 1 acre of waterfront property. To get 250 boats in the water each spring and out each fall, we must be as efficient as possible, and we strive to get as much prep work done early to minimize the time each boat spends at our small waterfront yard. The property at 1610 Main Street will be used for the maintenance of boats, in addition to storage. Some boats will be wrapped at this site in the fall. Boats will be bottom painted at this site in the spring. The boats will get uncovered at the site. Some boats may even get their hulls hand waxed and polished if the customer so elects so on that site. Once uncovered at 1610, before the boats are transported off that location, boats will undergo a multi-point inspection to identify issues in the service work needed prior to those boats being brought to the waterfront yard for final prep. If things are light and easy, we'll do the repairs right up there. And this process will enable us to have the parts on hand and a good outline of work needed to work efficiently for when the boat actually makes it to our small waterfront yard. So basically, we're going to try to get as much done off-site in our storage lots as we can because we've got such a small waterfront property. The property at 1610 will also be used as a drop-off and pickup site for our customers. Just the other day, myself and my yard foreman hauled 4 boats at the waterfront yard in the morning. And before we had them staged and set up, a customer came down the narrow 1-lane road with his 23-foot boat in tow to drop it off. That basically created gridlock for about 30 minutes until we got everything situated. So to handle as many boats as we do now, we need to really control 100% the timing and flow of our boats in and out of our small little waterfront yard. And the property being right there along Route 28 and such an easy location is much more convenient for our customers to drop off and pick up boats. Many of our customers sometimes only tow a boat 2 times a year. They've got little experience backing up a trailer, and they're trying to drive through a narrow residential neighborhood on one-way roads. It does not bode well. This property is much more suited for this. As Bill mentioned, boat sales are also an integral component of our business, and the property at 1610 provides a lot of visibility. We'll have several new boats from the lines we sell, Cobia, Steigercraft on display, as well as some select used brokerage boats, and we'll use that site for boat showings and sales activities. With such a small yard and a fleet of 5 trucks and 7 yard trailers, we can't keep all this equipment on site daily and have enough space to get our work done. So we will probably stage some of this equipment at 1610 during the season. And then at a moment's notice, we can just quickly go up and grab a truck or grab a trailer and come on down to work at the next boat. As was mentioned, an integral part of Boatyard is the storage. Storage of boats during the winter and storage of empty boat trailers in the summer. So yes, there will be seasonal boat storage at this site at 1610. Most of our customers don't want their boats stored in their own yards, and many subdivisions in town have covenants preventing storage. So the need to have centralized boat storage here in town is critical. Many boats that are stored by us are rotated through our inside heated shops each winter for more extensive repairs and service, such as fiberglass work, new electronics, repowers. This all allows us to be more efficient come spring, as we only have 2 short months to get 250 boats in the water. And having the boats under our storage umbrella allows us this flexibility to control the work to be most efficient and keep a good year-round staff employed. We've been working on boats here since 1952, 72 years Orby's been in business. As I mentioned, I've been running the yard the last 22 years, and I hope to continue for many more. We provide a good tax base to the town and the state of Massachusetts, and we try to hire as many local employees as possible, with openings for 2 positions right now. So if anyone's interested, come see me after the meeting. We've been met with many challenges over the years, and running this business is not always easy. And I'd like to ask for your support in approving this site for our use to help us carry on.
Thank you, Cliff. So I'll just run through the criteria. Adequacy of the size of the site in terms of the size of the proposed use. Well, because we don't have a building, the size of the site is essentially self-limiting. There'll be parking boats around the perimeter. The center of the lot has to be maintained open so that the trucks and trailers and cars and trailers can maneuver. Compatibility of the size of the proposed structure, well, there is no structure, so I don't think the question is applicable. The extended proposed increase in non-conforming nature. Here, this is a use permitted in this zone with the issuance of a special permit by you. So it's, there is no non-conformity here. The suitability of the site, including but not limited to impact on neighboring properties, on the natural environment, including slopes, vegetation, wetlands, groundwater, water bodies, and stormwater runoff. There'll be no change in the existing site. The property has been leveled, cleared, and had material put down suitable to support motor vehicles, because the owner of the property has previously allowed contractors working for the state and the town to use the space as parking for their work vehicles. So there's no change anticipated there. Impact of scale, siting, and mass on the neighborhood visual character. Here, there's no building. I think the only possible concern you might have regarding streetscape is whether or not it would be appropriate to have some sort of screening, vegetative screening or a fence, and we're happy to consider that. We don't think it's necessary. I mean, boat yards, there's a reason why boat yards are permitted all over town. And so that this is a boating community. There are over 2,000 moorings issued by the town of Chatham Harbor Master. Those boats all need to be serviced and stored and taken care of. And this is an opportunity for an otherwise vacant lot to be used in a manner that's productive, both for the company and for the owner of the property. Compatibility of the use with the neighboring uses. Well, West Chatham is sort of a hodgepodge right now. There are two properties which are owned by the town of Chatham that are parks. Across the street, you've got Shop Ahoy Plaza. That makes the boatyard kind of appropriate. Ship Ahoy, Shop Ahoy. Okay, maybe not. You've got the restaurant. You've got, the Oppenheim Medical Center. So here, there's no building. It's just going to be a series of boats parked around the perimeter of the lot. There'll be some traffic, as Cliff has indicated, occasional traffic, where staff comes to service boats or to assist a potential buyer of a boat. So I think it's a commercial zone. This is a commercial use. So I think to that extent, it's compatible. One thing we can say about it is there'll be far less motor vehicle traffic associated with this use than there is with Larry's PX across the street, or any of the other uses, Dunkin' Donuts, and we'll have a lot more vehicular traffic than we will. The method of sewage disposal and source of water, there is no water or electrical use on the property. Impact on traffic flow and safety. There will be some traffic associated with the use. I think that it won't be a constant flow like it is across the street at Shop Ahoy, but in the spring there will be truck traffic, bringing the boats up there to put them in place for storage in the spring, bringing them out. We don't believe there'll be any litter on the site because the Oyster River Boatyard doesn't allow litter on their sites. But there will be an occasional use of a portable generator, like those small Honda generators. They're very quiet, but they'll provide the electric power that the boatyard needs on the rare occasion when they need it. That'll be our presentation.
Thank you. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate. Seeing no one in favor, I will now read the correspondences. There are 4. First one is from Annie Hayes, and she represents the Planning Board, and she tells us on October 21, 2024, that the Planning Board has not received an application for this property to date. Next, we have a note from Jay Briggs, our building commissioner, who is here. This was written on October 15th, 2024, subject 1610 Main Street, application number 24109. Dear ZBA members, I have reviewed the ZBA application for the above referenced address, including all submittal documents. The application was filed under Section 3C3C and 8D2B, Section 3C3, and it lists the uses allowed for the small business district, which this property was previously zoned before changing to residential 20 zoning district at town meeting May 9th, 2016. The site has small business and flexible development overlay protection through May 23rd, 2025. Section 3C3C lists uses requiring a special permit, and item number 5 is in the list, Marina Boatyard. Both words are defined by the bylaw as follows. 16, boatyard means a commercial facility whose primary function is for the construction, repair, and maintenance of boats, and may include provisions for boat storage and docking. 70, marina means a facility providing for storing, servicing, fueling, berthing, and securing of 10 or more boats and marine supplies. Although boat storage is a component of the use of a boatyard or marina, it is not the primary use, but clearly an ancillary use as the terms are defined. The use the applicant is describing would fall under the use wholesale business or storage, which is only allowed by right in the industrial district and by special permit in the GB district. Next, we have a note from the Conservation Commission, and they tell us on October 2, 2024, the applicant has not submitted an application regarding this project to the commission. Additional information on a site plan with the wetlands delineated is needed to determine if the project will need to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act and the town local wetland bylaw regulations promulgated thereunder. Next, we have a note from Ted and Pat Burke of 56 Geranium Drive. They write to us on October 21, 2024, and this originally went to the town manager's assistant, and then it was brought to us. And she tells us, Ms. Burke tells us that they were hoping that we would pass, they were hoping that they would pass this along to zoning, as I didn't have their contact. We would like to express our objection to allowing 1610 to become a boatyard. We believe this will be extremely out of place, and this is not what the property was intended to be. This property is located in the middle of West Chatham Center. Please do not put shrink-wrapped boats on the 1610 property. It will most certainly create an unsightly distraction and interruption of the West Chatham Business District. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question? And I see a gentleman with a striped shirt. Please approach the microphone if you would, and
Warren Chaney's in the planning
those
board.
gentlemen will step aside and allow you to state your name and tell us your question or your objection, or both.
Good afternoon. My name is Warren Chain, and for the record, I am a member of the Town Planning Board, but I'm here solely as a town resident. The current application has not come before the Planning Board, which therefore has no comment on it at this time. I begin by saying that 1610 Main Street is in the heart of the West Chatham Neighborhood Center, and the proposed boatyard is not compatible with the town's vision for the future of this neighborhood center. To grant a special permit, Section 8C4 of the town's protected bylaw requires a finding that the use involved will not be detrimental to the established or the future character of the neighborhood. Because it would be extremely detrimental to the future character of the West Chatham Neighborhood Center, as envisioned in the town's comprehensive plan adopted 13 May 2003, I ask that the board deny the special permit. Section 1A of the comprehensive plan recognizes neighborhood centers and states that to reach its goals, the town's policy is to amend the zoning bylaws to create specific criteria unique to each neighborhood center. It further states that a limit on commercial density and intensity should be set for the neighborhood centers. The comprehensive plan's vision for the neighborhood centers includes higher density, multifamily, mixed use, market rate, and affordable and attainable housing, and limits on year-round residency in order to promote and increase the availability of more affordable housing in the town. This was done essentially as a quid pro quo for rezoning the remainder of Route 28 in Chatham outside of the neighborhood centers to R20 zoning, residential. While not yet presented to town meeting for adoption, the Planning Board's 24 February draft warrant article proposing zoning for the West Chatham Neighborhood Center, it's posted on the town's website, and really, at the direction of the Select Board, the draft zoning has been in development for over 3 years since I've been on the Planning Board. And in furtherance of the comprehensive plan, at the direction of the Select Board, the Planning Board has been working on drafting what the future vision as envisioned in the comprehensive plan ought to be embodied in zoning for that West Chatham Neighborhood Center. Importantly, the use table proposed for the West Chatham Neighborhood Center prohibits the use proposed in the current application. You know, it's clear that the desired future character of the neighborhood center has been endorsed by the Select Board and approved by the town voters as embodied in the comprehensive plan for the town, which created the neighborhood center. You know, given the documented vision for the future character of the neighborhood center, not only do the preceding documents not support a finding that the application will not be detrimental to the future character of the neighborhood center, it warrants a finding that granting a special permit would be extremely detrimental to the role of the neighborhood center envisioned in the comprehensive plan.
Just to let you know, Mr. Chain, we have a 5-minute limit. And
That's true.
You have another minute and a half.
That's more than enough, thank you. The applicant's proposed use belongs in Commerce Park or similar location, but not in the heart of the West Chatham Neighborhood Center. Whether it's permanent, temporary, or whatever, it's totally against the spirit and the expressed desires of the comprehensive plan and the direction of the Select Board in drafting proposed zoning for that area. So again, I respectfully request that the board consider rejecting the request for the special permit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak against this application or has a question? And
There has been another hand raised.
I was going to go to online. I just wanted to see if there's anybody here who made their way here, but no. And online, is there anybody on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against or has a question? Please don't be shy. Okay, seeing none.
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
if I could just have a moment of rebuttal.
That was going to be my next utterance, but
Thank you.
you beat me to it.
So so our application, was for marina/boatyard. And Jay, in his letter to you, presumed that this was just about storage. I hope our earlier presentation made it clear that it's not just about storage. It's about having a boatyard there. And I know Mr. Shane does a lot of work on the planning board, but, the last time the town did anything on zoning in this area, they changed this side to R20 residential, which is the exact opposite of what the theoretical plan is for having a village center. But, this is a low-impact use. There are many places on Cape Cod, none in Chatham, I will acknowledge, where boats are stored or boatyards have storage. It's not, attractive, but it's not unattractive. I mean, it's people working, is what it is. I mean, this is something that's important, to the economic life of this boatyard. Every year the boats get bigger and more expensive and require more work. And so they require more area in which to store them, where they can keep them close so they can bring them back and forth to work on them. So they can send their workers there to do some work up there as well. And so I just disagree very strongly with Jay's suggestion that it's somehow just ancillary. The boats that are stored there are customers of the boatyard. And as a boatyard customer myself in another boatyard, I can tell you that having your boat stored there means they're going to do the work, which of course I'm happy to have them do the work. But it really is important economically, both for the boatyard and the town, so they have year-round positions, well-paid positions for technicians and people who are capable of working with fiberglass and doing sophisticated work on boats. And so I hope you'll agree with me that this is not like a wholesale storage facility. It's an integral part of the operation of a boatyard, and we hope you'll grant a special permit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the, what? Yeah. Oh, yes? This is part of the rebuttal?
Yes, just a couple of quick comments. Chatham is a boating community. We're a seaside community. Boating is an integral part of this town. You guys even call on the web, your weekly newsletter, the main sheet. That's the mainsail of a sailboat. This town is founded on boats. I just hope that, the town will support those that actually work on these boats that draws everybody to town. And, people want to have boats. They need to have them serviced. And yes, this is not just a wholesale storage yard where we're just dropping them, setting them, and forgetting them. It's, an allowable marina boatyard use because there is going to be work performed on site at that site. It is not just a wholesale storage yard. We can't just have wholesale storage yards. We can't afford leases and payments and mortgages on such. And our waterfront property is too small to support all the work we do. So we do quite a bit of work off-site at all of our storage yards, whether or not they be in Commerce Park or elsewhere.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna now take questions from the board. And Dave Veach, questions?
Oh, well, Bill, this, this lot is grandfathered in as SB. That's from, and that expires in May or something like that? or it's
I know, but once we establish a use, it continues on.
I see. But if a use allowed it, but this particular use, which is, so I'm confused, maybe, I'm not sure who to ask this question of, but probably Jay. Your letter and your initial, the sheet we got, cover sheet with our application, indicated that this matter is not properly before us today. Can you just walk me through that? Thanks.
Well, when we received the application, we didn't have a plan of the layout, but I
Yep.
did have a follow-up conversation with Mr. Riley, and the predominant use of the site was gonna be for storage of boats. So, you know, I'm looking at the bylaw, and I'm looking at the definitions of boatyard and marina, because I'm weird like that, and I wanna, you know, semantics or whatever, it's very specific, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to follow the intent of the definition of these terms. So
Yeah.
if you go with boatyard, they're saying that it's a commercial facility whose primary function is for construction, repair, and maintenance of boats. And that wasn't expressed to me when the application was submitted.
Yeah,
And may include provisions for boat storage and docking.
okay.
So there's no docking occurring there, but
No, not there, probably, but,
if those other items were to occur, construction, repair, maintenance, then storage could also be allowed. But that's not how it was presented to me when we first received the application. We got the
Yeah.
plan a few weeks later. And so now the only thing about the plan is, and I don't know if you could put the plan back up, Sarah. It's unclear to me if they're gonna be storing trucks or anything other than the boats on site as well.
okay. So, I mean, I guess I was wondering whether this not probably before, so was, because it sounds to me like they're disagreeing with an interpretation you've made, and they haven't brought this to us as a questioning your interpretation. Is it?
Can I add something to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is really before us, sort of to save time when you think about it, because if it was just an application to rebut or to go against the building commissioner's decision, then you would still have to come back anyway. So this is the way it was explained to me by people that are a lot more intelligent about this. And so now we're here for the package. Board members can believe it's not even before us appropriately. And if they believe that, they can just vote no. And if they believe that it is, but they still don't think it meets the criteria, then they could vote no, or they could vote yes on either one of those.
Right.
Does that sound okay with you, Mr. Riley?
Absolutely.
Very good. All right, you can thank Sarah for that. And,
So, and.
I thank Sarah for a lot of things
Right,
all the
yes.
time.
Oh, okay, and so then, I guess for clarification, Bill, is this a matter that you've chosen to bring to us before going to the planning board or conservation commission?
We
or
won't be going to
is-
the
I mean, tell me
Conservation
about that.
Commission because our engineer, Dave Clark, has told us we're outside the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. Assuming we get a special permit, then we'll go to the planning board. Again, we don't anticipate making any changes, but we'll be in discussion with the planning board.
I mean, just to comment a bit on this. Given some of the questions before us, I would be reluctant to go ahead with this without input from the planning board, honestly.
because of the cut in the curb?
No, not just a curb cut, but, I think I mean, I do have questions, so it's currently zoned, it's grandfathered under SB zoning. That zoning was changed to R20. I am aware of proposals that the planning board has put out there about changes that they're going to be seeking in the neighborhood center, village center of West Chatham. And I believe, I'm going on my memory, which is not the best, but I believe one of those proposals is to switch that zoning back in that location to general business or something along those lines. Now, Mr. Cheney has indicated that marina boatyards won't be in the list of approved of uses in that new. So this is something that, I mean, we're right in the middle, and I think he appropriately mentions the future
Right.
thing. So given all of that, I would be very reluctant to act without at least planning board input for us.
Okay.
Thanks. And I think that's covers my questions
That's a
right now.
good question. So where's the planning board on this? Second question will come from Ed Acker.
Just a
Any
couple
questions?
So where do you store all your boats now?
We store predominantly most of them in Commerce Park,
Okay. And.
where I own 2 parcels and we lease several others.
Okay. And are you planning any improvements to this site at all?
The only improvement that I would think, if boat sales really took off on site, would be to put up like a small little sales shed, you know, like a 10 by 15 or 10 by 16 shed, just to support, you know, that function of the business.
I guess my question comes to, so when you're handling boats now and you take them out of the water, you power wash them, you sand them, you put them away for the winter, isn't there like requirements, special requirements for like drainage and things? How do you handle, you know, all of that material that's coming off the bottom of the boats?
Yeah, I won't be power washing at 1610 Main Street. There's special provisions on how that process has to be handled, so we will handle that appropriately at the waterfront location.
Okay. But you're asking to do maintenance on this property, or the argument is it's not just a storage area, we want to do maintenance here.
Yeah, we'll
so-
do environmentally friendly boat maintenance on there. You know, we can shrink wrap, that creates no environmental concerns. We can take the wrap off boats up there. We can do pre-boat inspections. We can do bottom painting by putting a tarp down on the ground and bottom. We use a water-based bottom paint, so it's very environmentally friendly. There's no odors. You know, we can do hand compounding and waxing of boats. And if we need a power tool, we could hook up a little generator just for like a little buffer. All those activities are just fine on that site.
Okay. And no proposed screening or anything of that nature?
There's already some trees planted along the sidewalk. But if there needed to be more, we could screen additionally. But, you know, I hate to see the town of Chatham hide a boat. You know, this town is founded on boats, and now you want to hide boats? I just question the logic on that. Is there something really bad about a boat?
But to answer the question, if the board felt that it was important to do screening, whether vegetation or a fence, we'd be happy to do it.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Marsh does extensive screening for his single-family homes. I mean, I would think this site would scream for screening. Yeah, boats are beautiful. I own a boat, but I don't consider my boat beautiful when it's covered in shrink wrap. I guess that's all my questions.
Okay. Dave Nixon, questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, Mr. Chain, may I ask you a question, please, sir?
If you could go to the microphone, Mr. Chain, that's how we roll.
Chain, not Cheney.
I said Chain.
I said Chain.
I thought
You've got to check your hearing aids.
Well, I've got my hearing aids in.
Yes. Now, this is sort of a leading question. If you don't want to answer it, please say, I can't, I won't. But do you have any reason to believe that your board, any members of your board, would feel differently about this whole thing than you do? Because I thought you were very articulate in explaining from what has happened with the West Chatham plans that you've all gone through. So while I hear Mr. Veach saying, gee, it would be nice to hear from the planning board, but I can't honestly see any reason why we'd get different feelings and answers than you gave us. And I know, I don't want you to speak for others, I'm just you speaking from your heart.
No, well, I have two comments. One would be that I have no reason to believe that any member of the board would feel terribly differently than I about the future vision for the character of the West Chatham Neighborhood Center.
Thank you.
Or any of the neighborhood centers. But I will also temper that by saying there are several new members, fairly new members, to the planning board who have not been through 3 years of urging by the select board to get on with it, to develop the planning, the bylaw for developing the centers into what are focused on being multi-use, multifamily, higher density housing to help with the housing problem that the town has recognized and embodied in the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. So I have a much longer history and therefore have had it perhaps burned into my soul a little bit more than perhaps the newer members of the board, and I certainly wouldn't want to speak to them.
No, and I don't want you to.
But I have no reason to believe that anyone would object to what I have said here, and that is that if you are creating a neighborhood center with all that might mean, apart from the comprehensive plan per se, but just the concept, the name itself suggests that putting a large boatyard right in the middle of perhaps the most desirable and most developable piece of real estate right in the middle of the neighborhood center can't possibly be consistent with the maintaining the future character of the neighborhood center as envisioned in the comprehensive plan. But again, I don't have any reason to believe that anybody would object to my feelings on that.
Thank you.
But I do have new members of the board, and I certainly don't
No, I
want to speak
understand
for
that.
them.
Thank you very much. And I would simply say that new members of the board would be vetted by the select board before they're appointed. And certainly this would have been, you know, a typical comment or a question that would come up. Hey, how do you feel about, do you understand what's going on? Anyway, gentlemen, let's talk about the storage of boats at this lot. Most boat yards I go by, which are few and far between, have racks. And so you have one level of boat, two level of boat, three level of boat.
We're not asking for racks.
Wouldn't you like some?
No,
No.
no,
We can't store a lot more boats if you had racks?
I know, but the Oyster River Boatyard doesn't use racks for their storage. They have, as Cliff indicated, they have several other lots around town, Commerce Park and other places, where they have boats that they put there for the winter. And none of those lots have racks. So, you know, I may not be very smart, but I know enough not to poke somebody in the eye by suggesting that we should have a rack there. So,
Yeah, but you love a rack, but that's okay.
But I can make a comment and speak intelligently to that.
Oh, thank you, as
the other-
opposed to Mr. Riley, I like that.
The
Go
other
ahead.
boatyards in town that have racks, or I could say, you know, I could use like Riders Cove Boatyard. I could use Outermost Harbor Marine, Stage Harbor Marine, Chatham Yacht Basin. All of those boatyards have a very unique feature at their waterfront, and it's called a bulkhead. So they have a forklift that they haul and launch boats with at their bulkhead. A $250,000 forklift that goes up and down and raises boats out of the water with their bulkhead, moves them around their yard and can then set them up into racks. Our waterfront location is not fortunate enough to have a bulkhead. We have an old school launching ramp. So we haul and launch boats on hydraulic trailers and roller trailers and customer trailers. we would
Okay.
not be permitted for racks at our waterfront facility, so there's no point in putting racks
Okay,
elsewhere.
thank you for the answer, okay. So let's go on. Part of your argument is that you're gonna provide jobs for folks and all that, but yet, it seems to me that you have these other lots currently, Commerce Park and others that, so are you telling us that the folks who work there now would lose their jobs if they didn't have this to go to?
We've grown, we've expanded, we've added significantly to our customer base and boat base. So as you heard, I'm looking to hire even more people to work on the more boats that we have.
But currently, you handle what you have with what you have in Commerce Park, is that correct?
I'm running short-staffed at the moment.
I know,
Yeah.
but if you have the staff? Okay. So it's just, your argument about, this is providing jobs and all that is a little weak to me if you're looking for people now with what you have. Okay. So,
David,
do you mind if I finish?
We're going to answer questions that are asked.
Thank you. So you made the comment about the traffic problems. You gave an example of someone coming down that one-lane road who was driving a trailer or whatever they had, and it took you 30 minutes to straighten it out. Just what do you think is going to happen on Route 28 in front of 1610? If you have, and you're by your own admission, gentlemen, ladies, driving trailers that they're not used to doing, they don't know how to back them up, they're going to be parking them up on 28, aren't they? And coming in, saying, is anybody in here? Help me out? Is there space in here? Well, wait a minute, don't you leave it out there. Now you've got 50 cars backed up. I mean, that argument of not causing a traffic problem, it just doesn't wash with me.
1610 is going to be a very open lot in the middle. There is going to be ample space to easily pull in there, do just a 360 turn, no backing up needed, disconnect the trailer. It's going to be really simple.
Okay. That's all the questions I have at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Ginny?
Yeah, when I see the field card, I see that this property is not owned by you, it's owned by Eastward Homes. So you'll be leasing this property.
Correct.
Would this be replacing any of your existing leases, or like the ones at Commerce Park that you mentioned, or in addition to, because your business is growing? Is that what I heard?
In addition
Okay.
to. I may replace one small leased property, but I'll have to see how things shake out, but.
Okay, how many boats, I know this isn't probably done to scale, but how many boats are we talking about with the ability to have all that maneuvering space that you're?
I envision 40 to 60 boats around the perimeter.
And no stacking?
No rack stacking.
Because you can't do that without this, like you
The
said.
forklift.
The forklift and the bulkhead. And so because of this ample space that you have, you don't foresee a problem being the proximity so close to the roundabout?
Absolutely not. I was honestly a huge opponent of the roundabouts in theory when they were proposed, but they have been absolutely nothing but a saving grace for us. Pulling out at Dunkin' Donuts to take a left to head towards Commerce Park or head towards 1610 is so much easier with the roundabouts. The roundabouts are engineered in such a way that we can easily get around them with all of our trucks and trailers. And to be honest with you, the biggest boat that one of my customers really hauls on their own is gonna be 24, 25 feet tops. The bigger boats, we all haul ourselves. Most of the drop-offs are small boats in nature, 13 feet to like 24.
Well, that was actually a question I had, size of the boats, because it is a tight roundabout. So I agree, it helps with the traffic flow, the roundabout, but I was concerned about a truck and the trailer with a big boat.
No, with ease. Yeah, they're well designed.
Okay,
Both those intersections are much safer for us to navigate than they ever were in the past with
Okay,
the two
can we-
roundabouts.
Okay, can we go back to the temporary ownership then? So this lease that you're talking about is constructed in a way that is ended by you or by the leaseor at any time? I mean,
Well, the initial term of the lease is gonna be a 2-year lease with a right to renew. But, you know, that's up for renegotiation at the end of 2 years. I hope to be able to renew that.
okay. And then, so I'm a little unclear, Mr. Riley, maybe to Dave Veach's initial question. Did you say, or did someone say that the grandfathering, the expiration, that May 2025 grandfathering, if this, so in other words, if our decision, what is the longevity of our decision tonight, based on the fact that there's this grandfathering provision in May of 2025, and the fact that this is a leasee lessor arrangement?
Well, I think uses that are established, so in the subdivision control law, there's a provision that if a zoning bylaw change is proposed and prior to its adoption at the town meeting, a subdivision of the property is submitted to the planning board and ultimately approved by the planning board, the property is protected for up to 8 years to establish a use previously allowed on the property. Once a use is established there, it is a permitted use and is allowed to remain.
Okay, so then that goes to Mr. Briggs' comments at the summary at the beginning about it being a boatyard and being a marina.
I'm sorry, what?
The use, the established use, I mean, I'm struggling frankly with the criteria of suitability of use because of the letter that was written in to us about boatyard and marina. So I'm still a little confused about the whole zoning part of it, frankly, but, okay, I think, okay, I think that's all I have right now.
Well, I mean, I can run through the zoning aspect for you if you'd like.
Well, we talked about at the beginning.
Well, I mean, right now, it's a use that's permitted with a special permit. Once it's established, it would be allowed to continue indefinitely. It would be permitted use, an allowed use. It would become non-conforming, you know, because with all due respect to the planning board, if they were so busy, so concerned about having multifamily housing there, why'd they change the zoning to R20? But be that as it may, so the zoning is clear. It's a permitted use with a special permit on this particular piece of property. If a use is not established by May of 2025, it's going to revert to R20.
Okay.
And I just add, so that use would be either a boatyard or marina, because both of them are permitted under special permit, if we find that, first of all, that it meets the definition.
Right.
And second of all, if we do find it meets the definition, then we find that it's not detrimental, whatnot. Okay. Is that helpful at all?
And is it boatyard and marina, or boatyard or marina? Or, okay. And-
Because 16 is the definition of boatyard, because it begins with a B, so it's a lower number. And then you have to go to 70 for marina, which is an M.
Okay, oh, I see.
So we're going to the definitions. The definitions become quite important on this board.
So,
No, and I agree, and I think, you know, the only, thing that, in my initial conversation with Jay, I didn't understand what his concerns were, and I didn't understand fully what the applicant was going to be doing there.
Right.
We talked about it.
Is this your work, this piece of paper with,
That's mine.
I wasn't sure if it was, if it was from a professional, but okay.
So
Yeah, it was
actually,
a
maybe-
professional, but we fired him.
This is Dave Clark in the corner here.
So maybe my final question is actually to Jay, and this was at the beginning, so I don't have the wording exactly the way you said it, but it sounded to me like maybe there was clearly not a marina, but that there was a maybe in the boatyard because of the primary function. The way you understood it initially was that the primary function was going to be for construction, repair, maintenance of boats, where tonight what we've heard is that the primary function is storage.
I was under the impression that the primary function was storage from the beginning, from when we received the application.
So is
And so
anything,
if they're looking to have a boatyard, the definition of boatyard says it's a commercial facility whose primary function is for the construction, repair, and maintenance of boats, and may include provisions for boat storage, so whether their operation falls under that definition, that's up for the board to determine, I would say.
okay, thank you.
Steve DeBoer, questions? We're only on questions.
I may have a couple. I guess, first of all, if this got approved, when did you expect to start using this property? And,
Well, as soon as we get the permits.
okay. I know you said early on that you didn't feel that you had to go to the Conservation Commission, but how are you going to address some of the environmental concerns of doing maintenance to boats? You said you used water-based boat bottom paint, but there's still environmental issues in using that paint and controlling runoff. Is there going to be a blue line of bottom paint running down the side of Route 28 when you're cleaning some of these boats?
We are not power washing on site. That's going to be done per the EPA guidelines at our waterfront location. Applying bottom paint is a very passive act with no environmental concerns. It's, you put it on with a brush and a roller, and you have a little drop cloth, and there's absolutely no environmental issues with applying paint.
Okay, but you do have to sand it off occasionally.
No, we don't sand. We use a ablative paint. It doesn't build up over time. It wears off in the water with use and refreshes itself. So no longer are you getting huge buildups of, 20, 30 coats. And if we ever had a boat that had a huge buildup, we would take that off-site and have it soda blasted professionally.
And how about flushing boats in the fall before you shrink wrap them? Flushing out the motors, flushing out the hull of the boat?
That intensely environmental, impactful work will continue to be done at our waterfront location, where we have measures in place to ensure that that's done in a safe, environmentally friendly manner.
Okay. And what kind of maintenance, you talk about maintenance to trailers, can you describe what you might be doing?
Inspecting them, we have to go through a thorough trailer inspection on all customers' trailers before we put boats on them. So we will, take tire pressure, visual inspection of the tires to see if they're dry rotted. If they are, we will, jack up the trailer, replace a tire and wheel. It's easy. It's like 4 bolts, 5 bolts. You can jack up one side of a trailer, spin the wheel, make sure the bearings don't sound bad. Visual inspection of the trailer winch, make sure the cable or strap is in good condition to haul the boat.
Okay, and I think you said that, there's not gonna be any shore power going to this site. You might use a Honda generator, but you're gonna run air compressors and possibly even welders to fix a trailer with a Honda generator?
No, if the repairs and maintenance will be very light in nature up there, if they're more in-depth repairs, they will come to the waterfront location or a specialized welding shop. We don't weld on site even at our waterfront location. If the trailer's in that much of a disrepair, I will take it to a professional welder.
Okay, and what are you gonna do with the debris from the worn out tires and the piles, the giant piles in the spring of the removed shrink wrap? How do you intend to handle that?
When we uncover the boat at 1610, the shrink wrap immediately goes in the bed of the pickup truck, and it will come down to the waterfront location at the time that we take the boat in tow down there. We contract with the service, and we have a 40-yard dumpster set at our waterfront location for 3 months in the spring, where we compile all the shrink wrap and it gets recycled every year.
Okay. And is there going to be any staffing on site to help people who might be bringing their boats or that might want to pull their boat out? Is there going to be anybody there sort of directing, traffic cop in the parking lot?
Yes, so right now, being our waterfront location, people just tell us the day they're gonna come down. They never tell us the time, and it creates all these gridlocks. We really need to have the flow. So I'm gonna make it clear. I will have a diagram, how they can pull in and whatnot, but I will also make it the opportunity available. Hey, you let me know when you're gonna be up there. Call me when you're 5 minutes out. We're literally 2.5-minute drive to 1610. And I'm happy to send somebody up there to assist with meeting a customer. In fact, we like to meet our customers at drop off because it's like dropping off your car for service. You have a chat with your service advisor, you go through what's needed, we go through what's suggested for service and stuff. It's very beneficial for us to meet with our customers in the spring and in the fall to go over their desired needs and what we suggest for the upcoming season.
Okay.
But there won't be somebody there full-time on a regular basis, but they're readily available to assist whenever needed.
Okay, thank you.
Lee Hovey, questions?
Yes, I actually had a question about the lease as well, but I think you've pretty much cleared that up. Short-term lease, 2-year lease, hopefully renewable. But I also had a question about the lots. It's 2 lots.
Yes.
You will not be using this second lot necessarily.
We won't,
No.
we'll be using, probably a portion of the front of that lot.
A portion of the front of the lot, which will need to be cleared, maybe?
No, we're not gonna do any clearing.
Okay, no clearing. Okay, so it's just this lot that I see here, not the one that goes down to Bursa's Pond.
No, it's not the panhandle lot, it's just the
Okay.
forward lot.
Okay, the forward lot.
But we're using part of the panhandle.
Okay, this part, okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
And Paul Semple, questions?
Well, overall, I think I agree with Dave Veach that in order to really deal with this in an intelligent manner, we probably need to hear from the planning board first. But I don't want to give you the impression that we're against the boatyards or that we're against boatyards in general, because I know you probably feel as if you're getting a lot of negative comments here. And it isn't so much that we have a negative viewpoint towards this, but we're just trying to get the facts that we think are important that will be necessary to then apply to our criteria. The overall concept within the framework of the West Chatham Village concept is part of our criteria in effect, because we're dealing with the overall view, which is that special permits may be granted when it's found that the use involved will not be detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood and the town, and when it's found that the use involved will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. That's our overall criteria, aside from the individual specific ones that we've been raising with you.
Well, if can I adjust that just for a minute?
Sure.
The reason why I agree with Dave Nixon that having it go to the planning board is just going to be a repetition of Mr. Shane's comments is that it's obvious that they're invested in their proposed change. It's been going along for years now. It may continue for more years, but they're invested in that change. And I think that sending to them, you're going to get back notes to say, we don't like this because this is in our village center. So I think that my suggestion would be that you take that as a given, and then when you take your vote, decide if that's a determining factor, then your vote is no. But if it's not a determining factor, then the vote is yes. And the only thing I would say and this- no disrespect to the planning board or Mr. Shane or anybody else, you know, our town is famous amongst lawyers on Cape Cod who do zoning bylaw stuff for never changing its bylaw, because they can never get 2/3 plus one on a zoning bylaw change. And this proposal for this village center has already come up once and been withdrawn because they didn't have the votes for it. So, I mean, the question is, you know, how long are we in stasis here, waiting for the planning board? And so I would just suggest, we know how they feel. I'm confident that's how they feel. And I think you should be confident of that as well. The question is, do we have to wait for something that may never happen? Or is this a good use for a property to help an existing business continue on a path of profitability?
Well, I appreciate your argument, but I don't want to prejudge what the planning board may or may not do. And I don't want to dismiss their concerns out of hand simply because maybe the town will or will not continue on with the course that it has. It seems to me we need to hear what they have to say, and then we need to apply it to our criteria. And that would assist us in doing that. I think also, I appreciate that you're trying to keep this within a budget, but to a certain extent, we keep hearing about things that would be of significance to us in terms of the proposal, such as the fact that it's a water-based bottom paint that's used, and therefore there won't be a problem. But are those going to be conditions that were going to be imposed on any business that goes in there? Because certainly that's not the case with most or a lot of the bottom painting that's done in town. When we look at this sketch of boats that might be there, it certainly needs to be, I think, more detailed for us to look at and get a feel for what this is actually going to look at in the neighborhood. I realize that you know, that involves some expenses, and I don't want to try and prejudge you as to whether you want to spend that kind of money or not spend that kind of money and deal with it. But those are factors which are going to be normally dealt with at the planning board level initially, and then come to us in a sort of finalized form with their conditions. So I guess overall, I'm saying that I think that it would be premature for us to go forward with a special permit with respect to these properties without planning board approval.
So
Input.
given that we're on questions, Paul, would your question be, what does planning board think? I need to know that. How's that?
That's certainly a good way to put it. Why don't we put it that way?
All right, so now I have a question, and this is for Mr., I wrote it down. What did I
Werner,
already do?
Werner,
Burner, yes, thank you, yeah. Okay, so can you tell us whether or not the primary function for this is storage? I mean, honestly, let's just have it. Is this the primary function, so you can store boats?
Storage and maintenance,
No, but
You know-
I want the primary function, not,
no, you
Well,
can't, wait, you can't.
I
just-
can't,
wait,
you
just a
can't
minute,
separate
just a
the
minute.
two anymore.
You know, as a lawyer, you're trying to parse things, just like Jay goes through, looks at the words in the bylaw. You have to look at how does a boatyard operate? So you can't separate storage from the maintenance, because if they don't have boats in storage, they can't do the maintenance. If they don't do the maintenance, then they're not profitable. You can't separate them.
there's a such thing as storing boats somewhere, right? You can store them, and then you can bring them somewhere else for all the other accoutrement that goes along with boating. But I'm asking, and you, obviously, if you don't have to answer,
No,
or
every
your
boatyard
attorney
has
can
a
answer.
different business model, and there are many boatyards that have wholesale storage yards, where once the boat is put away in storage, that boat will not be touched until it gets ready to go in the water. Those boatyards may have a larger waterfront footprint. Those boatyards may hire a bunch of seasonal workers and then lay them off at the end of the year. That's not my business model. My business model is to keep a year-round staff of good people employed year-round. So I maintain and work on, but there might be a couple months during the year.
No, but I'm
January,
still, I
February.
just had a very simple, I'm a simple person with simple question, because I'm trying to apply the bylaw to your application, and I want to know what the primary function of this is, and can you tell me that?
Yeah, the primary function is going to be storing and maintaining boats
So.
and
equal-
light repairs. So it's all
Okay.
three.
Okay, so I think at this point, I think we should entertain the issue of whether or not we want to vote. Well, actually, we have to do deliberations. But after we do that, so have your heads thinking about, do we want to vote whether or not to agree with the building commissioner in his interpretation that this is not properly before us? So we'll do deliberations, and then be thinking about the two parts of this hearing. Do we want, we could vote on whether or not we think this is properly before us, based on the building commissioner's letter, and then we're gonna take a vote on whether or not we think this meets the special permit criteria. So now I'm gonna ask Paul to move to close the hearing.
I will move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Yes.
All vote yes?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, now we're gonna go into deliberations. And I think everybody's clear on the things that we're gonna deliberate about, hopefully. Ed?
The gun there. I guess because what you've submitted, I want to support local business. I want to support your boatyard. I'm a boater. But what you've submitted hasn't really helped you tonight, in my opinion. We have a plan of what you're going to do on the property, and it just shows boat storage. And then we ask questions about maintenance and what kind of maintenance is going to be done on the property. And the answer seems to be, oh, we're really not going to do maintenance there. We're going to just do, little things. So it's the zoning is you can't just do storage. And if you're going to do true maintenance there, I think you're going to need some more infrastructure there to do maintenance. And then I think you should, I would have submitted a plan, or, I think screening is, boats can be beautiful, but they're not really beautiful when they're covered in tarps or shrink wrap or whatever. So I'm not opposed to the facility, but what's submitted so far doesn't meet our zoning, in my opinion.
So do you agree with the finding of the building commissioner, A?
I do. I
this is not
feel
properly
what I
defined?
see is a boat storage area.
Okay, very good. Dave Nixon?
Well, I agree with Mr. Acton. I believe that I would support our building commissioner. It doesn't seem to me to be something other than storage with a few other things going on. And as Mr. Acton pointed out, if it's really gonna be maintenance and all that kind of stuff, then I would think there'd be a plan for a building and so on and so forth. So, to answer your question, I will be supporting the motion that our building commissioner is correct.
Okay. Ginny? Starting with the building commissioner determination, and then if you find that he is not accurate because there's been enough other information, then you can then decide whether you want to talk about the special permit.
Okay, I did think that coming into tonight, but I do feel like I heard something earlier. I think Mr. Riley articulated very well, and so did is it Byrne? I'm sorry. Burner. That there is this connectivity between storage and keeping your clients that is part of sustaining his business. That makes me think that maybe it's not, we're not able to really be so specific and parse, I think was the word. I'm I'm really intrigued by that and thinking that, yes, the primary function is not those things, and it appears that it's storage. I do agree with Ed Acton that, this could have been, the description here of what you wanted could have been a little more specific, but we heard greater specificity from both of you. So I think that the storage and the maintenance and the light repairs, maybe they don't need a building and a structure. It sounds like it's something that is required to sustain the business. And I think I've heard almost everyone say, if not everyone, that we're pro-business. We want to support your business and local workers in town and giving them opportunity for employment. And I also think that with respect to Mr. Chain and the comments around the Planning Commission, that's a question mark, what's going to happen with that, when it's going to happen. And I don't think that, or I do think that boating is, as Mr. Riley said, I thought very well, Chatham is a boating community. If you drive down 28, and many places around Chatham, there are boatyards. You barely even notice them. They're not that unsightly, and it's part of, and this isn't just Chatham, this is Row 8 in Connecticut. It's all kinds of places that are seaside communities that can be attractive in their own way, whether they're shrink-wrapped or not. It's indicative of the proximity, especially Chatham, to the sea, to all kinds of coves and ponds and Nantucket Sound and the ocean, et cetera. So I'm actually thinking that that I could support not supporting Mr. Briggs.
What about the special permit? How would you vote on that? I mean, if you want to just give an indication.
I think I could support it.
You do, okay. Dave Veach.
Well, part of the reason that I said that I would like to hear from the planning board is, it was just, I mean, part of it is that we haven't even been given a site plan here. And so, I mean, we've heard a lot of, there's been a nice presentation, but the materials that we've been getting don't even compare to what we normally get in order to make our decisions. So I don't know what to think about that, but I can't, I mean, it sounds to me like they've been making arguments about there'll be other work other than storage that qualifies to apply the marina or boatyard definition to this use. But based on the material we've been given, it looks like a storage facility in which now they're saying, well, we can do, I've also heard, well, all right, no, that kind of work's going back to the boatyard, and then we're going to move it back. And it still sounds to me like the intent here is primarily storage. And there's a lot of kinds of work that they might need to do on these boats, but that's going to involve moving them back to the boatyard, moving them back to the storage facility. So I'm inclined to support Jay's determination here. He does this every day. I don't. We don't. And we sometimes get questions or appeals of building inspectors' decisions, and they come to us as that, and we weigh them as that and look at it. In this case, I'm inclined to give Jay the benefit of a doubt, and in terms of reading the definitions and looking at the situation, looking at how it's been presented, and applying that. And then aside from that, I'm very much have some question, and the other reason I kind of want to hear from the planning board is because I can see in the zoning bylaw that a marina boatyard, it gets very favored position It's not only in the SB district, this would be allowed by special permit in any of the residential districts in town. So I'm not sure, I mean, I'd like some guidance on where that came from or what that means, because I'm trying to think about, all right, so say they're gonna instead of this location, they propose to do this out in, I don't know, River Bay or something. I kind of imagine the neighborhood opposition that might show up. I can't say for sure, but having lived, operated a small business and had a business in Chatham in the middle of a business district, a general business district, there's a part of me that is in agreement, aside from all this, is in agreement that this is not a good location for a boatyard. I'm in the heart of what is intended to be. Now, it has, nothing's happened yet, but it's the intent is to be, primarily retail residential district. That's what they're seeking to create. I've seen enough of that. And I'm really not sure that this use is compatible with the future character of what we intend to do. So I will support Jay's determination.
And even if you didn't support Jay's and you thought it was probably before us, by what you just said, it sounds.
I'm afraid I don't like to vote against things, but I would have some serious concerns about this as for a special permit.
Okay, very good. Good to know. Paul?
Well, I guess I would turn it around a little bit and ask Jay whether his opinion still holds, having heard what he's heard tonight in terms of what he intends to use for the property.
Thanks, Paul.
I was going to ask you the same thing.
I mean, on the site plan that I got 3 weeks after the submission or somewhere around there, I would like to see the boats to scale. I'd like to see the limit of clearing. It seems much smaller than what's represented on the plan now. They did mention some maintenance items that would be occurring on the site. I was hoping that the board would be the ones to determine whether or not it meets the definition of boatyard. If shrink wrapping and applying bottom paint satisfies the board. Again, I go back to the primary function is construction, repair, and maintenance. Well, they're not probably, I mean, I don't know about repairs. It sounded like that was going back to the waterfront for that, but I don't have to vote on it.
Well, I guess what you're saying is that you would still stick by your letter?
It's tough.
Mm-hmm. It is tough, in part because the proposal is vague.
It is, and we got more information tonight from Mr. Riley and the applicant. I'm sticking with my letter for now.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I take the position that we still need to deal with that issue first.
Right.
And once we deal with that issue, we can go on to the question of whether it meets the criteria of necessary for a special permit. I think in order to get to the special permit criteria, we need to go through the planning board first. But I would side along the line of what Jay has provided us with respect to what's the definition of a boatyard and what's the definition of balance. So I would go with Jay's opinion.
And then you wouldn't really feel prepared to vote on the special?
Then I would need input from, as I have mentioned before, and as Dave Beach has mentioned, we just don't have very much information here other than what's been offered off the cuff tonight, which is different from what you read about at the Chronicle, for instance, in terms of what was being done here. And it's different from what he was initially told. It may be ultimately that will be something that we could approve, but absent input from the planning board in the areas that they have expertise, which is not just the question of what's the development area, but also input on traffic and input on parking and so forth, all of those kinds of things we need to hear before we can deal with a special permit.
Okay, Mr. Riley, I wanted to let you know that I would also support the building commissioner tonight, but even if I didn't, I would vote no on the special permit because I don't think it meets the criteria. I'm very concerned in the impact of traffic flow and safety. I mean, in that spot, I know what it's like to try to back up a boat, even a tiny little sailboat is tricky to maneuver. And then you have people, that's a very, very busy area. So I think it doesn't meet that criteria. I don't think it's a suitable site for this proposed use either. So, and I could go on, but I just want to let you know that. So what do you want to do?
We'd ask to withdraw without prejudice.
Sure. Okay, Paul?
I'll move to grant the requested withdrawal without prejudice.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I. It's unanimous. So, all that being said, it's 5:03, and can I have a motion to,
I'll move to adjourn.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Dave? Oh, yeah.
Ed votes yes.
I vote yes.
Paul votes yes.
I vote yes.
Steve votes yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And what time is it? Whoever's talking online, the meeting is over, so just let us just finish officially, and that would be by saying what time it is.
5:01 PM.
It's 5:01 PM, and we will say good night, Chatham.